Jimmy Kimmel is set to return to his late-night talk show on ABC this Tuesday, September 23rd, following a brief suspension over controversial jokes about the death of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. Disney, which owns ABC and airs Jimmy Kimmel Live, said the suspension came after the network felt some comments were ill-timed and thus insensitive. The statement added that, "We have spent the last days having thoughtful conversations with Jimmy, and after those conversations, we reached the decision to return the show on Tuesday." The U.S. comedian returns to ABC this Tuesday, but the country's largest owner of local ABC affiliate stations, Sinclair Broadcast Group, will not air his show, the New York Post reported. Sources say Kimmel will address the controversy in his monologue, but stop short of issuing an apology. Instead of airing Jimmy Kimmel Live, dozens of Sinclair-owned ABC stations will run regular news programming. A Sinclair spokesperson said, "Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return." In response, Turning Point USA posted on X, "Good for @WeAreSinclair for blocking Kimmel from its 31 ABC affiliates." Reminder, Kimmel has yet to apologize for saying the assassin was MAGA, and he was reportedly going to double down. Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show was pulled from schedules due to his comments about Charlie Kirk's fatal shooting. The comment that got Kimmel in hot water featured in Monday's episode, 14th of September, when he said, "We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and with everything they can to score political points from it." Kimmel also used the subject to mock Donald Trump, showing a viral clip that showed the U.S. president discussing White House renovations when asked how he was faring in the wake of Kirk's death. Donald Trump had welcomed Kimmel's suspension and suggested that some TV networks should have their licenses taken away for negative coverage of the president.
Who would you like to see replace Kimmel on late night?
A lot of people, anybody could replace him. The guy had no talent. Kimmel look, he was fired, he had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent, and more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings. His ratings were worse than Colbert, I think. They got rid of Colbert, which was a good thing to do. And look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and you take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
President, are you going to ask Brendan Carr to weigh in on other late-night hosts that you have said should be off the air?
Late-night host is on network television. There is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I got 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, I won everything. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr. I think Brendan Carr is outstanding. He's a patriot. He loves our country, and he's a tough guy. So we'll have to see.
Free speech issue.
When you think about this, 97% of the stories are opposed to me, and yet I win easily the election. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. That shows they have no credibility. Go ahead.
I was just going to agree with. I mean, could you use that same logic with news? If someone
in the old days, I remember in the old days that every 4 or 5 years, a network would reapply for its license, and the license is free. You know, they get this valuable thing for free, and they'd reapply for a license. And if they did something wrong, well, I beat George Stephanopoulos, Slopadopoulos, I call him, George Slopadopoulos. They had to pay me $15 million for what he said. I beat CBS for much more money than that, including advertising and other things. Much more money, because they totally changed the answer that Kamala gave on a question. I mean, they didn't change it. They took it out and put a different answer in. And they didn't want to go to court with that. That's a tough one to go to court with. So, no, I think that if you remember, years ago, I remember as a kid, they would file, it was a big deal every 4 or 5 years, and I don't know, you don't hold me exact, but it was like 4 or 5 years, they'd have to file for a license extension. I don't hear about that. The only one that I've heard even bring it up is Brendan Carr. I think Brendan Carr is doing a great job, and I think he's a great patriot.
Mr. President, if I can, on the tough subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. You know, it used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. You know, they had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And you know, they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. I mean, your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So you think
I wasn't looking for that.
Brendan Carr has a right to...
No, I think Brendan Carr is a patriot. I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. I mean, it's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, I mean, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide. That's why I'm president. When they take a great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot. So I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.